Here we are, and Bitcoin is pumping, baby. That's right, I spent the week meditating with monks in the Himalayas, manifesting green on the charts, and you're welcome, here it is. But I'm sure you're wondering, how is this possible that the markets that seemed so bearish, that the recession was coming, and Stanley Druckenmiller, and Wifey Alpha, and EllioTrades, how could everybody say that it was bearish, and then all of a sudden the markets go up? How is that even possible? What does it all mean? EllioTrades, make it make sense. Well, guess what? I'm here to do exactly that. Well, fear not, all of the mysteries of this crypto market will be explained in just the next few minutes. Go ahead, smash that like button because we got a ton to cover here as we get back in the swing of things. And I also have a huge announcement. We're gonna be turning this whole content thing into a pretty fun game that I'm gonna be playing with all of you. A way that I believe I can give back to this community even more than just the content alone. Make sure you watch through and I'll explain a little bit more towards the end of the video. That's right, while I was out of town, crypto decided to go on a mad pump. Well, sort of, not really. I mean, it's up a couple percentage points, which is good, don't get me wrong. But the main important thing that I said in my last video was not to get out of control and FOMO. And the reason why I'm telling you again not to make that rookie mistake is because there is so much on the table. Now, I did say several times over the last few videos that I had started deploying small amounts of capital, literally 1 to 2% of my portfolio. And now the question is, when is the time to start getting more risky? And I don't believe it's time to get super risky right now. In fact, I do believe what Tyler Reynolds is saying here is very apt, meaning that we will see this Goldilocks era or this Goldilocks theme play out with some major bear market rallies. First of all, that guy's outfit is sick. Second of all, I think what he said there was pretty accurate, which is that we have this transitory Goldilocks theme. This was the $64,000 word, which really could mean anything you want it to mean. But what it really means is that we could have some massive bear market rallies before we get the ultimate lows or the ultimate harsh consequences of this inflationary bear market. Now, I know I can already hear you guys screaming from the sidelines, but EllioTrades, there is inflation. The inflation's gone down. There's no more inflation. Has inflation really gone down? Is inflation over? Maybe, but maybe not. Here we have a chart from the Cleveland Fed showing CPI month over month. They've been fairly accurate in predicting this throughout 2022, and surely it's not picking up, right? Ooh, that would be so bad if inflation made a massive comeback right as the markets were starting to rally into resistance, right as optimism started to flood the air and people started to get FOMO and just chuck their money into the market like a bunch of gambling apes that we are deep down. Well, let me tell you this much. I have been playing the markets, like I said, with a few percent because I lived through 2019. If you don't know what happened in 2019, let me show you. This is how 2019 began, with Bitcoin trading at about 3K, 3,800, and boom, we got a run up to 12,900. It topped out, actually, there was a wick up, I believe, to 14,000, which isn't shown here on this chart, but I believe it touched 14,000. So from just under 4,000 to 14,000, that is some monster gains. But then it went ahead and retraced all the way down to the $6,000 mark before having a little rally up, getting a party crashed by COVID, and it eventually bottomed out here. I think it touched in the 4,000s again. 2019 was what we call a mean reversion year, where effectively things got back to normal. Some argue this was the beginning of the new bull cycle because those lows of the 3,000s were never revisited. But it's important to realize that unless you bought and sold within 2019, you really didn't make all that much progress because the market almost completely retraced back to those $3,000 levels. Remember, 2019 started about 3,800, and in 2020, we revisited the 4,000s on Bitcoin. Again, there's some percentage gains there, and if you would have held all the way through, you're doing great. But let's be real. It's not like you were sitting on a 3x just by holding. So what I'm trying to say here, and listen to this very clearly, is that if we get this transitory Goldilocks moment, this moment before the harsh drop of inflationary bear market, recession, hard landing, whatever the Fed is going to call it, whatever the macro doomers are calling it, I believe it's most likely that if this rally continues, that it's more one to be traded than one to be held long term. I'll explain my full strategy of how I'm approaching this rally at the end of the video. And if you're enjoying this, if you're getting value out of it, make sure you smash that like button. As Carlo Cassio says, it's not rocket science. The staggering easing of FCI since the end of Q3 22 will light a fire with a couple of quarters lag just as the Fed is ready to pause. China opens up and growth reaccelerates. The flip trade is coming. What he's saying here is that inflation is going to make a comeback. That's at least his prediction. And we're also seeing that, of course, based on what's coming out of the CPI CPI from the Cleveland Fed. And as Les Shrub here, who has crushed it throughout 2022, is saying, hey, look, this January print is going to come in at plus 53 basis points versus the December being minus 10 basis points. This is, of course, a reacceleration of inflation at a time where both the mainstream markets and crypto markets are pumping like crazy, acceleration into a negative catalyst. Now, here's the thing. I don't know how long transitory Goldilocks is going to last. I'm going to give you my impressions at the end of the video. I will say I've made a good chunk of change since dabbling a little bit in the market. My 1% of my portfolio distribution has turned into maybe 3 to 4% of value. And so to understand exactly how to play this, I'm going to give you my impression at the end. So stick around. We're almost there. The thing is, meanwhile, bulls will point to stuff like this. The US Democrats pushing to eliminate the debt ceiling. And again, this makes you think, hey, look, if they're just going to borrow infinite money, then that means that there's infinite degradation of the US dollar, which means there's really no ceiling on Bitcoin, and thus crypto should pump like crazy. Of course, as TXMC says here, the debt limit theatrics are just that, a surface to conduct grandstanding on. The limit is purely prop and pundits overreacting every time. I mean, how many times have we heard about the debt ceiling crisis, the debt ceiling? We can't keep kicking the can down the road. You hear these DC politicians going crazy every time we raise the debt ceiling, but the data is very clear. Both sides, Republican and Democrat, raise the debt ceiling at will, almost in an exponential manner. There is no ceiling on the debt. There's no ceiling, so stop calling it that. And very accurately here, as TXMC explains, at the end of the day, the debt-based system must expand or die. And everybody on planet Earth knows it. There is no alternative. Anyway, here's another chart where in 2006, the Fed paused, the market rallied 20%, and then we got the rest of the cycle playing out to the downside. So what's the deal, Elio? Are you betting on the market? You said you're in the market. You said you made some gains, but now you're showing all these bearish charts. What's going on? Talk about the Goldilocks thing, and here we go. We are no longer in the easy mode of the markets. If you want easy money and you want to just set it and forget it, your timeline on these buys needs to be very long term. Short term, however, the technicals are very strong for Bitcoin. If this month closes strong, we'll see pretty impressive turnarounds on the Bitcoin chart. And technical traders like Eric Crown and other buddies of mine are saying, hey, look, this is a very strong buying signal, and we believe this will go on at least deep into Q1. For the full analysis, please go check out Eric's videos at Eric Crown Crypto. So we have the tale of two cities right now, the transitory Goldilocks effect, where we haven't gotten the bad news yet. And quite frankly, the charts are spelling out that this could be a violent rally. We have 2019 to learn from, seeing Bitcoin go from just under 4K to over 14,000, a whopping 3x plus move that, quite frankly, if you didn't play that market in 2019, you missed out on a chance to rebuild your portfolio and take home some bacon to buy the ultimate lows and buy the next major dip at the end of 2019. Remember, the game here is long-term accumulation of the good stuff, the projects that are going to go mainstream, the communities that are still active, the protocols that are actually going to lift crypto up. And what you want is having more chips at the table, because we all know that in the next cycle, these numbers will all seem small. At least that's how crypto has been for the last decade plus. So what am I doing? As I've said, I've deployed a few percent of my liquidity. It's done very well since the beginning of the year, and I think there's more gas in the tank for this rally. That said, even if I lose 50% of my liquidity, I'm still at well over 95% of my cash. I want to drive this point home really clearly. I made the vast majority of the money I made in the market way after the bottom was in on Bitcoin. For some context, here was the bottom on Bitcoin in 2018. This was DeFi summer, a year and a half later, where Bitcoin started to show convincing signs of building an uptrend and alts were going absolutely bananas. You literally had a year and a half to start understanding the market, seeing the DeFi trend pop off. I didn't even allocate aggressively here in March when everyone was making 300 million% gains, but I still made absolutely mind-numbing amounts of money in the market once I started recognizing that we were for sure in a bull trend again. The biggest thing you want is to not die and not blow up your account. And once the market flips on and has a bull trend again, especially if we get past this inflationary bear market, we get to the point where we actually have this hard landing and recession, and then the Fed flips on the money printer and goes to quantitative easing again, that is where we can start more confidently adding to the market, and there will be plenty of time to ride all kinds of trends friends to stack your ETH and BTC and to absolutely crush it. The main thing that you don't want to do is get emotional and forget the last year plus of agonizing losses only to make the same emotional mistakes again. If you don't have any sense of why you're buying and when you might sell, what timelines you're going to hold on, what are realistic price targets, how you're going to manage your positions, how much percentage you should put into the market on a specific coin, then you're just guessing. And especially if you're buying because you're feeling emotional, you're going to get wrecked by this market. I don't care if you miss out on gains. If you're not learning the lessons of 2022 and 2021, then you just shouldn't be in the market. As always, I hope this video has helped you. I'm personally playing the market with a small amount of my portfolio. I'll be looking to trade it aggressively because we don't really know when the party might end here, but I do believe that there might be some gains in the future. Again, if this video has helped you, smash that like button. Now, before I go, I want to tell you about a little game I'm going to be playing with all of you. Right now, I'm going to start setting this up so that each piece of content will start to hold a code. It's going to take me a while to get this set up. I need to hire some team members to do this, but effectively, I'm going to be making it so that each piece of content has a code that you can use to claim something on the blockchain. Now, by doing this, I'm going to be identifying my most active and most supportive audience members and bringing some very real rewards, very real blockchain assets to you all. But you absolutely need to be paying attention and watching every episode, or else you won't be able to extract the max amount of value from this game we're going to play. I think it's going to be a fun way to interact with this community that's still active here, as well as a cool way for me to give back to the people who are watching these videos. The number one thing you want to do is put that bell notification on, as I'm going to be doing my best to bring you as much content as possible throughout 2023, which will be a very different year from 2022, I believe, both to the upside and the downside. I'm also going to be weaving this content together with my Twitter Spaces, so make sure you subscribe and put the bell notification on Twitter. If you like this episode, drop me a comment in the comment section, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.